Today, we are watching 5 kid shows with horrifying secrets. Here we go. Alright, y'all, strap up.
Children's television is supposed to be the safest place in media. It has bright colors, silly voices, puppet shows, game shows, and sing-alongs. Parents leave the room because they trust what's on screen. Kids write fan letters, they show up to studio tapings, and they sometimes sit on a host's lap and accept a medal or a sticker, and then go home thinking they've had the best days of their lives. That trust is the whole point. It's what makes the format work. It's also what makes these 5 shows possible. Every program in this video looked, on the surface, like exactly what it was supposed to be. A wish fulfillment show on the BBC, a Christian variety hour in Florida, a puppet series for toddlers, a cartoon animal show in the Middle East, and a local kids program in Louisiana. All of them aired, all of them had child audiences, and behind every single one of them was something that, once you know the full story, you will not be able to forget. Although admittedly, this first entry didn't really try to hide what was so dark about it.
Here we go, tomorrow's pioneers. I'm actually nervous.
والذي نضع وإياكم حجر الأساس لقيادة العالم بقيادة إسلامية ونذكركم أننا نحن
Wait, is this a foreign show?
العظماء انطلقنا في هذا البرنامج لنقود هذا العالم وستكون النوى بإذن الله تعالى من هنا من فلسطين.
وسيلة صباح
من أين بالضبط؟ من غزة؟
We lost Randy. Where did he go? What is wrong with you, bro? What did they do to Mickey Mouse? It's a Middle Eastern Mickey Mouse, I think.
Tomorrow's Pioneers debuted on April 13th, 2007 on Al Aqsa TV, a television channel operating out of Gaza and run by Hamas. It ran for 4 original seasons through about October 2009, with sporadic new episodes appearing as late as 2022. The show was created and written by Hazim Al-Sharawari, known on the show as Uncle Hazim. It was directed by Fadi Hamad, who was both the chairman of Al Aqsa's TV board and later Hamas's interior minister. The US State Department designated him as a specially designated terrorist in September 2016.
Bro? So you're saying this show is run by a terrorist? Am I getting this right? What are we watching? 5 kid shows with horrifying secrets.
Specifically citing his role in airing programs designed to recruit children as fighters and suicide bombers. The show was hosted by a child presenter named Sarah Bahom, who was about 11 years old when the film
Did he just say that these shows recruit children to become terrorists?
began. Her uncle, Fawzi Bahom, is a Hamas spokesman. The format looks like something you'd see on Barney the Dinosaur. A child character and a costumed animal host did skits, took phone calls from kids, and talked about daily life. But the content was unlike any children's program ever made. The first character was Farfor, a mouse that was a very obvious copy of Mickey Mouse. Farfor told children that they were laying the foundation for a world led by Islamists. He said they would liberate Jerusalem and Iraq. In one episode, he simulated firing an AK-47 while a child sang about the weapon. In another, after being caught cheating on an exam, his excuse was that the Jews had destroyed his home, and he left his notebooks there.
This is really creepy, bro.
On June 29, 2007, Farfor was beaten to death on screen by an actor playing an Israeli official who was demanding he hand over land documents. Sarah, the child host, then declared that Farfor had been martyred defending his land.
Yeah, dude, what is this mouse doing, bro? What the hell is this mouse doing, bro? Yeah, right. I don't know, bro.
ما إلك مين قال فرفور، لكن المطلوب فرفور.
طيب وإيش المطلوب أجدك مني؟
المطلوب فرفور إنه تعطينا أوراق الأرض.
أوراق الأرض اللي جدي اعطاني إياهم أمانة.
Dude, this mouse's voice is actually like... It's good, Evan. Dude, this mouse is about to piss me off, bro. We're watching 5 kid shows with horrifying secrets. It's the only non-English show. Thank goodness, bro. We just gotta get through this and we're good.
يا فرفور بدنا نشتري الأرض. شير يا فرفور بدنا نديك مصاري كتير. بدك تجيبه يعني بدك تجيبه فرفور.
Oh my god.
ولا ناس مجرمين، لا ناس إرهاب، لا ناس إرهابية.
احنا أندال احنا إرهابية فرفور.
Oh!
خد 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 خد.
This is corn acting, bro. This acting is terrible.
لقد استشهد فرفور وهو يدافع عن
This acting is terrible.
يدافع عن أرض آبائه وأجداده. استشهد على أيدي المجرمين القتلة، قتلة الأطفال الأبرياء.
Farfo was replaced by Nahul, a bee introduced as his cousin. Nahul vowed vengeance and said he would continue the path of Islam, heroism, and martyrdom.
this?
He told children they would liberate Al-Aqsa from, in his words, the filth of the criminal Jews. In one episode, Nahul visited a zoo in Gaza and was filmed swinging real cats by their tails and throwing stones at caged lions. Nahul died in February 2008 after falling ill and being depicted as unable to leave Gaza for medical treatment because of the Israeli blockade. The actor who played Nahul, Mohammed Al-Ariya, was 31 years old when he was killed in an Israeli airstrike in July 2014.
Oh
Nahul was replaced by Asud, a rabbit. Despite being introduced as Nahul's brother, which made no biological sense and was never explained, Asud arrived from Lebanon and declared he would finish off the
Who's
Jews
this
and
bunny,
eat them.
bro?
He died on January 2nd, 2009, wounded during the Israeli military operation in Gaza, telling children on his deathbed that they must fight and die to liberate Haifa and Tel Aviv. Asud was then replaced by Nasur, a bear, who vowed to join the Al-Qassam brigades and said his hobbies included waging jihad and carrying a gun. In the show's most notorious episode, Nasur and Sarah welcomed the children of Reem Riashi into the studio. Riashi was a suicide bomber who killed 4 Israelis at the Erez crossing in January 2004. Her children were brought on the show and made to watch a music video reenacting their mother's suicide bombing.
Dude, what? I am so confused, bro. Oh no, this isn't Evan. Why are they making them watch this? Why are they making them watch this, bro?
Nasur was the only character who was never killed off. Palestinian Media Watch first flagged the show internationally in April 2007. Disney CEO Robert Iger commented that Disney was appalled by the use of their characters to spread that kind of message. Walt Disney's daughter, Diane Disney Miller, told an Israeli newspaper that what they were dealing with was pure evil. Her comments reportedly prompted the show's creators to kill off Farfo in the martyrdom scene. The US House of Representatives submitted a resolution formally condemning Hamas's use of children's television to promote hatred and violence. Israel bombed Al-Aqsa's TV headquarters in 2008, again in 2014, and again in 2018, and designated the station a terrorist organization in 2019. There was a notable translation controversy. CNN's Arabic department found the memories widely shared translation of the show
It's 5 kid shows with horrifying secrets.
contained errors and undue emphasis,
That's
including
crazy,
attributing
Jackson.
a character's words to a child and translating, quote, "we want to resist" as "we want to fight." Those disputes didn't change the fundamental nature of what the show was doing, which its own creators openly defended. After the October 7, 2023 attacks, commentators pointed out that children who watched Tomorrow's Pioneers in 2007 would have been of fighting age by 2023, meaning that many of them will have grown up and did exactly what these characters told them to do.
Yeah, is this like... What's good? Steven, how you been, bruh? Yeah, I got you, Chase. Is this show just like telling their residents that they should like do these certain things? Go blow stuff up? Is that basically what I'm hearing? Alright, next one. Finally, bro. Jeez. Yes. That's a crazy
The
thing
Mr.
to make
Wonder
a
Show
about.
aired on KNOE TV, the CBS affiliate in Monroe, Louisiana, starting around 1977. It was hosted by a man named Frank Jones Sealis III, who presided over races and contests between teams of children who were bussed in from local schools. The show started weekly but went daily as it became more popular. In December 1978, Sealis served as Grand Marshal of the Christmas Parade in the Natchitoches Parish, and he was regarded as a local celebrity. Behind the scenes, People had reservations about him. A former co-worker named Tom Cole later said Salas was very odd and that nobody could stand him. Another colleague, Susan Elaine, said everyone thought he was a little strange, but nobody did anything about it. Salas had no real credentials. He claimed degrees from the University of Madrid and experience working with children in 31 countries, but none of this was ever verified. Before Louisiana, he taught 4th grade at St. Mary's International School, a Catholic boys' school in Tokyo, from 1970 to 1972, where he organized trips with groups of 30 to 40 adolescent boys. Police later learned there had been similar abuse allegations against him during
I already know where this is going. Oh my god.
His time overseas. He was reportedly fired for his behavior around boys. After that, he was a principal of a Catholic school at an Indian mission in New Mexico. The station owner at KNOE hired him after meeting him on a plane. No background check was done. Salas initially worked as a news anchor, but viewers flooded the station with complaints about his delivery, so they moved him to children's programming instead. Using his Mr. Wonder persona, Salas promoted what he called camping weekends with Mr. Wonder on air. These were trips for boys between 5 and 15 years old. The station didn't sponsor them, but let him advertise during his show on a camping trip from June 1st to June 3rd.
This is gonna get bad, bro. He's on some David shit, bro. He's on some David shit, bro. I think so, Chase.
1979, at a site near Valentine Lake in Kissimmee National Forest, Salas abused at least 7 boys. When the children went home, several told their parents. One victim was hospitalized. Detectives from the Rapids Parish Sheriff's Office secured warrants for 2 counts of obscene behavior with a juvenile. When they arrived at his home, his wife told them he fled the area. His car turned up the next day in a Dallas suburb. Salas had escaped to Rio de Janeiro. He came back to the United States in the early 1980s. Over the following decades, he lived in Connecticut, Vermont, Chicago, Massachusetts, and eventually the San Diego area in July 1992. He illegally changed his name.
Ew. It's fucking. Where's the jump scare warning, bro? Jesus, bro. Send in my Discord, Crosby.
To Frank John Seeley's in a San Diego County court. Under his new identity, he relentlessly pursued access to children.
Bro, I'm confused. Like, how do people get away with this, bro? Like, if you're famous and you do like something like this and everybody knows your name and you're on the run, how can you just go and change your name? Like people around you don't know who you are, bro. Like, how could you... I don't get it, bro.
He became PTA president at 2 schools, a PE teacher and soccer coach, a Cub Scout troop leader, a Mormon church volunteer in positions involving children, and a Red Cross swim instructor who gave lessons to kids in his backyard pool. He also advertised Saturday field trips to boys ages 5 to 11. In 1997, he was arrested for bringing young boys from Mexico into the US on a trip to Walt Disney World, but because of the name change, nobody connected him to the Louisiana warrants. The Boy Scouts removed him in 2012 for not complying with youth protection policies. The LDS Church removed him from children's positions for similar reasons. Neither organization notified the police. The original detective on the 1979 case, William Earl Hilton, had since been elected sheriff of Rapids Parish. He asked the U.S. Marshals Service to reopen the case. On January 25, 2016, Salas was arrested at his home in Bonita, California. He was 76 years old. A Cub Scout uniform was found in the house. At his arraignment, he told the judge they had the wrong guy. A grand jury indicted him on 2 counts of aggravated 3 counts of battery and 8 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile, plus 70 additional years. In January 2018, at 78, he took a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to 1 felony count of indecent behavior with a juvenile and received 5 years of hard labor, the maximum under 1979 sentencing guidelines. His defense attorney called it a no-brainer given the alternative. After release, Salas faced federal charges for lying on a passport application. He was arrested 3 more times for parole violations.
Bro, how is he not like locked up for the rest of his life, bro? For doing something like that.
Including one instance where his GPS tracker showed he'd gone to a residence where he was denied entry because children lived there. His phone contained multiple pictures of unknown children. His parole officer classified his adjustment as poor and said he appeared unwilling to follow his conditions of release. Frank John Salas III died in 2021 at roughly 82 years old, having evaded minimal justice for over 4 decades. After the arrest was made, Sheriff Hilton said, "If there was a definition of a sexual predator, this is one. We never forget our victims."
Dude, like, how do you go 40 years and just, like, get away with something like this, bro? Like, I get, like, the justice system and all that was way worse than it is now, but still, bro, There's no way you could be on the run for 40 years for doing this to children, bro. That's actually disgusting, dude. Give him the bomb squad? That's bad, bro. What's good, blah? He needs to get life. I mean, he's already with O.J. Simpson, so it don't even matter no more, bro.
Hey, Ron, what's going on here? What's wrong with Marty?
Oh, Marty's just fine. He just didn't get much sleep last night. He kept waking up asking me if it was here yet.
It's what here?
He sent away for a video of the Becky's Barn program, and he was so excited about it, he wanted to camp out here next to the post office until it came.
Oh, my. Bo, I didn't see you here. Boys and girls, it's Bo from Becky's Barn.
Hey, Professor, is it here yet?
It's what here?
Oh, I sent away for a video of my favorite program, Joy Junction.
Not you, too.
Boys and girls, to receive your video copy of Joy Junction or Becky's Barn, just send a $12 donation to Post Office Box 692.
Scam, bro. How much you want to bet they're about to run off with like millions, bro?
22, Clearwater, Florida, 34618.
And you'll receive 2 specially selected programs on each tape. Specify whether you want Joy Junction or Becky's Barn, and you don't have to camp out at the post office.
Hey, look! It's here!
Joy Junction premiered on November 10th, 1979 on WCLF Channel 22 in Clearwater, Florida. It was produced by the Christian Television Network, founded by a local electrical contractor named Bob DeAndrea. The show ran for about 25 years until about 2005, when it was quietly pulled off the air with no explanation. At its peak, it aired nationally on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, FamilyNet, and other Christian stations across the country. The format was a Christian children's variety and game show. A live studio audience of kids was split into red and blue teams for games, refereed by the host, a man called Don McAllister, who played a character called Sheriff Don. Each episode had comedy skits, puppetry, art segments, Bible verse readings, and moral lessons. By 1987, the show was receiving over 2,000 letters a month. And
Dude, why do all these involve kids, bro? Like, I just know it's gonna get bad, bro. Yeah, I got you, Crosby. Arkansas got another 5-star dubs.
Won an Angel Award in 1982 from the International Christian Visual Media Association. The cast included Forrest Padley as Professor Clodhopper, David Brantley as Whitler Dan, and a man named Ronald William Brown, who appeared as Ron, performing a ventriloquist act with a boy puppet called Marty. In their segments together, Marty would bring up childhood problems like peer pressure and bullying, and Ron would give Christian-themed advice.
In Philippians 2:3, be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself. You know, you can never make fun of someone.
Oh, it's a Christian show, bro. Hey, y'all know what them priests are always known for, bro. That's all I gotta say.
You think that much of them, could you?
Oh, that's for sure,
Right.
Professor Clodhopper. Well, I did make
I already know
fun
where
of
this is
someone
going, bro.
once that I remember, Professor.
Really?
Oh, really, Marty? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? Well, there was this little kid, and he lives down the street from me, and I always thought that he looked, well, sort of different.
Racist.
What do you mean he looked sort of different, Marty? He was always wearing these real dark glasses, and when he walked down the road, he had this big dog in a harness that showed him where to go. Oh, Marty, from what you've described, it sounds to me like he was blind. I hope you didn't say anything to him. Oh, no, I didn't do that. But one day I was out in the yard playing with my friend Scott, and that kid, the one with the glasses, you know? He started walking down the road, and I turned over to Scott, and I said, hey, Scott, look at this kid coming down the road. Oh, no, I hope he didn't hear you, Marty. No, he didn't, but Scott said, Marty, you shouldn't say that. That's Calvin, and he's a good friend of mine. Let's go over and talk to him. I asked Calvin to forgive me. And what did he say,
Chase.
Marty?
I'm gonna check it out.
He said, well, Marty, that's okay. That happens sometimes. And you know what else he said? He said, since I lost my eyesight a few years ago, God has given me a new kind of sight.
Oh,
A
gosh.
new kind of sight? What did he mean by that, Marty? He said, since I can't see, I try to look at what folks are like on the inside. Oh, I think I see what he's saying. You know,
these
Marty,
are
that
like
reminds me of a
creepy
verse in the
shows,
Bible
bro.
found in 1 Samuel 16:7. And it says, man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh at the heart. And that's what really counts, Ron.
There were also a couple of times where Ron and Marty would talk about pornography and dirty thoughts.
You know, we need to be very careful about what we put in our minds and our hearts, Marty. That's for sure. You know, putting bad thoughts in our mind and our heart would almost be like canning rotten peaches. Yuck! Who would want to eat rotten peaches? Well, I know I wouldn't, that's for sure. But that's
There's no way
exactly
this is
what
a
I'm
Christian
talking
show?
about, Marty. You know, there's a kid at school and
I'm
he's
waiting for the
always
dark turn,
using
bro.
dirty words and telling dirty jokes. Well, Marty, we know what he's putting into his mind and his heart, don't we? Because that's what's coming out. It sure is. Well, they said, Marty, come over here and take a look at our pictures. So I walked on over there and I took a look. And do you know what it was? What was it, Marty? Well, it was in Arizona, I'll tell you that right now. Ron, they were looking at some dirty pictures and they wanted me to look too. Well, Marty, what did you do? Well, I said, look, guys, I like you a lot and I want to play with you,
Brett.
but I can't look at those pictures. I just can't do it. You know, that kind of reminds me of a verse I'm thinking of in the Bible that's found in 2 Timothy 2:22. And it says that you should run away from anything that will give you evil thoughts. And as your companions, you should have friends who have pure and clean thoughts and will only give you good ideas.
Ronald William Brown lived alone in a mobile home park in Largo, Florida. Outside of Joy Junction, he ran a business called Puppet Plus and volunteered in youth ministry at Gulf Coast Church, where he drove children to church in a van and held weekly pizza parties for neighborhood kids at his home. He performed for the Tampa Bay Rays, local schools, and Jewish family services. The first sign of trouble surrounding him came in 1998, when a sheriff's deputy pulled Brown over for a traffic violation and found boys' underwear in the front seat. At his home, they found a blow-up doll dressed in children's clothes. Brown said that the items were for puppet shows, and no charges were filed.
This always happens, bro. Dude. Every time they talk about like a Christian show or like a priest or whatever, it always leads to like doing stuff with kids, bro. Why?
His crimes came to light through Operation Halitna, a massive international child pornography investigation led by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The operation had traced a global network from a Massachusetts hotel manager to a Dutch daycare worker who had assaulted 87 children, and then to a man in Kansas named Michael Arnett. On Arnett's computers, investigators found extensive chat logs with Ronald William Brown. The conversations contained graphic discussions about kidnapping children, abusing them, murdering them, and eating them. On July 19, 2022, federal agents raided Brown's trailer. They seized computers, discs, cameras, and VHS tapes. They found hundreds of images of child and journal entries going back to 1978, expressing desire to harm and consume children.
1978 and consumption, like what are we doing, bro? All PDFs should get the death penalty. I agree, bro. I appreciate the follow, Jake. I agree, dude. Nah, this is disgusting. I like what? I will never understand like what has to go wrong or what has to go through your mind to make you even like think of doing something like that. Not even like thinking of wanting to doing something like that. What makes you think of even? What makes that thought cross your head? These people are sick, bro. I will never understand that.
That
bro.
means these
That's
fantasies
disgusting.
predated his time on Joy Junction. The most disturbing find was a photograph of a specific 10-year-old boy from his church that Brown had marked up to show how he would butcher the child. In his chats, he wrote about this boy. He discussed wanting to carve and cook the body parts of a young parishioner for Easter. In March 2013, Brown pleaded guilty to 5 counts of receiving child pornography and 3 counts of possessing it. A federal judge sentenced him to 20 years, well above the sentencing guidelines, citing Brown's documented interest in dead children, murder, and cannibalism. He was one of at least 51 people arrested worldwide through
sick,
Operation
bro.
Halitna. More than 160 children were rescued globally. Brown's co-conspirator,
Not surprised, bro. Just look at this guy, bro. Just look at this guy, bro. What are they about to say? He has like 60 terabytes, blah blah blah. Like, bro, this is literally a chud. If you go to chud in the dictionary, even though it's not in a dictionary, this is what comes up, bro.
Jeffrey Portway of Massachusetts, who had built a dungeon in his basement designed to hold children, received 27 years. An ICE spokesman said it was the most gruesome case he'd ever seen at the agency. Brown died in federal prison on August 5, 2020 at 65
Rest
from
in
motor
piss.
neuron disease. After the arrest, the networks that had aired Joy Junction reportedly destroyed their copies and refused to acknowledge the show ever existed. Today, fewer than 39 episodes have surfaced, mostly from VHS recordings. The show exists almost entirely as lost media, and you can't really blame the networks for wanting to forget that they once had such a demonic human being on their channels.
That's bad. But like, dude, why does someone only get 20 years for that? I said rest in piss. But like, why don't they just give them life, bro? Like, I know they didn't unalive anybody, but dude, I think people that I think people that participate in like PDF activities should serve life, bro. Because it's just, here's what's gonna happen. They're gonna just get out of jail and do the same thing again. Like, why don't you just give them life, bro? Who do I got win the finals? Thunder or Spurs? Life with Grandpa. Is that Jesus?
Life with Grandpa.
Yeah, Chase is bad, bro.
Fun. Living where there's love for everyone.
I'm already creeped out, bro.
Learning lessons each and every day.
Dude, they all have kids in it, bro. This is disgusting.
Learning from the Word of God, the light to guide our way. Life with Grandpa, what can be more fun? That is why we are happy, that is why that we sing. It's because of Jesus, He's everything.
And it's a religious show. Yeah, I know where this is going. Same as the last one.
Learn how to share and give God's love away. Life with Grandpa, what could be more fun?
Imagine watching this back then.
For everyone.
I feel like back then it wouldn't be like, if you're a kid watching this, it's probably not creepy to you.
Learning lessons
But
each
like
and
now
every
it's
day.
just like weird,
Learn
bro.
from the Word of God, the light to guide our way. Life with Grandpa, won't you come along?
Yeah, this is creepy.
Life with Grandpa was a children's puppet show produced in 1985 by a cult called the Family International, formerly known as the Children of God.
A cult?
Now, unlike the other shows
Yeah,
on this
GG.
list, this wasn't actually broadcast on normal television. It was distributed on VHS tapes to the cult's communes around the world for internal use only. But due to the nature of the show itself, it definitely still belongs on this video. The show featured humanoid puppets representing a family led by a character called Grandpa. This character was modeled directly on the cult's founder, David Brandt Burke, and other puppets were mapped onto real people in the organization. Mother Maria represented Karen Zerbe, Berg's partner and eventual successor. David Ditto represented Ricky Rodriguez.
Dude, cults are like the dumbest thing to me, bro. You can't tell if I'm enjoying this video or I hate it. I mean, it's interesting, but it's just like really weird, bro. Like from the jump, it's just weird, bro. People use God and religion to cover up horrible things, and these people don't deserve forgiveness, bro. I don't like. You have to be completely like lost in life to join a cult, bro. Like I'm talking like on the verge of jumping type of lost, bro. Because like the only way that I could, I mean, I would never join a cult, but the only way I could like even comprehend someone joining is if they're like, oh, like I don't believe in like a higher power. I'm kind of lost in life. Like I have nobody like in my circle to keep me grounded. Like I feel like that's the only way I could remotely comprehend someone joining a cult, bro. Like this is one thing I will never get, bro. Have y'all ever watched Waco, bro? If y'all have never watched Waco on Netflix, I recommend y'all watch that shit. That shit was so interesting, and it just shows like the weird stuff that goes on within cults, like behind closed doors, bro.
Berg's adopted son. Each episode ran about 27 minutes and featured stories, skits, and songs that were supposedly teaching children Christian values.
Like, dude, a lot of the cults too, like the cult leaders, I don't know if y'all knew this. I don't know if this is like in every cult or just in the Waco thing. Bro, the leader of the cult somehow, like if say a man joins with his wife, girlfriend, whatever, bro, the leader of the cult will literally convince the dude to let him crack his wife and have a kid with her, bro. Like, the leader of the cult is cracking every woman inside of that establishment and getting them pregnant, bro. I don't know, like, dude, it's just messed up, bro. It's just really weird. And I don't know how people think, like, oh, yeah, what this guy's saying is right. Like, these people look at the cult leaders as, like, Jesus on earth. It's weird, bro. It's so weird, bro. Leave the cult ASAP, bro. They just, I'm pretty sure if they leave, like, they get threatened with, like, some, like, once you join, like, you can't leave, bro. I think it's something like that.
The actual message throughout was total, unquestioning obedience to authority, specifically to Grandpa, and by extension, David Berg. The content of the show was alarming when you understand the context. Scenes endorsed spanking children with what looked like a whip.
I warned you to settle down, but you disobeyed and didn't listen. So we're going to have to give you both a good spanking.
The Lord says, as many as I love, I rebuke and chasten.
Bro, you see what they do, bro? They just try to tie a Bible verse or like some Christian message to everything. Like, that's how they cover up the bad things that they do, bro.
Jesus spanks us because he loves us and wants us to obey and be good.
Women were portrayed as domestic servants, and one segment featured the grandpa puppet fondling the breasts of a female robot character that had naked human breasts, while lyrics played about him putting in his key and her getting excited.
'Cause he's in love with a robot. Watch her pick and spin. Ooh, yeah, pretty little robot.
What the
specially made for him.
What is this?
She rolls on her wheels and follows him around like
oh yeah, I did that. Dude, what is this?
Puts in his key, and that's when she gets excited.
Another scene had Grandpa directing the David Ditto puppet to run a toy car down his, quote, mountain, positioned near his crotch.
Look, David, Grandpa has a big mountain with the blanket over his legs.
This is actually bad.
You can roll your cars down on it.
This is bad, bro.
Look, David, like this.
Bro.
That's fun. I want to do it.
Bro.
Vroom.
An accompanying comic book series was even more explicit, with the grandpa character explaining in uncensored language how his wife had sex with other men. For children raised inside the cult, this was among the only media they were allowed to watch. All outside content was forbidden. Life with Grandpa functioned as a grooming tool. It conditioned children to trust adults without question and normalized the sexual content they were experiencing daily. David Berg founded the group in 1968 at a coffee house in Huntington Beach, California. It grew rapidly, eventually claiming tens of thousands of members in over 70 countries. Berg went into hiding in 1971 and governed through nearly 3,000 written directives called Mo letters, covering everything from spiritual teaching to explicit sexual instructions, and he was wanted by Interpol. Berg's doctrine, which he called the Law of Love, held that all sexual expression was sanctioned by God. This included children. Berg explicitly taught that children should be involved in activities from essentially the time they were born.
Dude,
the cult also practiced something called flirty fishing from 1976 to 1987, a form of religious prostitution where female members had sex with potential recruits. According to the cult's own records, members had sexual contact with over 223,000 people through flirty fishing during that period. The most documented case of abuse within the cult was that of Ricky Rodriguez, the boy the David Ditto puppet was based on.
I feel like I've heard about this before. Is this the dude that got abused as a kid, left the cult, and then like went back and just like walked down on him? Is that what this is?
He was born in 1975 in Tenerife to Karen Zerbe. His father was a Spanish hotel worker Zerbe had recruited through flirty fishing. Rodriguez was adopted by Berg and designated the cult's future prophet. His abuse was documented in a book called The Story of David Ditto, published in 1982 and distributed to cult communes worldwide. It was presented as a child-rearing manual. It graphically depicted the abuse of Rodriguez from the age of 18 months by his nanny and others. Berg annotated the book with comments endorsing what was being done to the child. Former members testified to what they witnessed. Davida Kelly told CNN she had witnessed Karen Zerbe having intercourse with her own son when he was 11. Berg's own granddaughter, Mary Berg, testified in a British court that he had her as a teenager. Children in the cult were beaten, whipped, separated from their parents, given almost no education, and sent to training camps involving hard labor, sleep deprivation, exorcisms, and enforced silence. Rodriguez left the cult in 2001. He struggled profoundly with what had been done to him. On January 8, 2005, he lured Angela Smith, one of his childhood abusers, to his apartment in Tucson, Arizona. He stabbed her 5 times and cut her throat. The next day, he drove to Blythe, California, and shot himself. He was 29. Before he did it, he recorded a 60-minute video. He said he had a need, not a want, for revenge, a need for justice, because he couldn't go on the way he was.
Okay, I've heard this before, but like, bro, if you get abused and it's all documented and stuff, and you spin back when you grow up, like, are you going to jail, bro? Like, if you just unalive your abuser, are you going to jail for that, bro?
I got stuck on this one thing. I got stuck because there's this need that I have. This need, it's not a want, it's a fucking need, and I wish it wasn't, but it is. It's a need for revenge. It's a need for justice.
You shouldn't.
Because
I agree,
can't
bro.
go on like this. So, I can imagine how I would feel, how liberating it would be. And I hope that if I'm successful, I mean, I can't see how it wouldn't have this effect on people, you know? And anything you talk about the family would end up like, oh, but Jesus Christ, they got what they deserved. Even the thought, even the attempt at bringing that about for people, that gift to give them is worth it for. You bet it is.
Actress Rose McGowan was raised in the cult Italian communes until she was 9, when her family fled after Burt began openly advocating adult child sex. The Phoenix family were members from 1972 to 1978. River Phoenix later revealed he was 4 years old when he first had sex within the group. Despite investigations across multiple countries and a landmark 1995 British ruling by Lord Justice Ward that found the cult had engaged in widespread physical and use of children, no senior leader was ever criminally convicted. Berg died in hiding in Portugal in 1994, never receiving any kind of punishment for the monster that he was. And all the
This is actually disgusting how they could do some shit like this, and because they're in a cult, nobody's gonna out them for it, and they could just get away with it, bro. This is bad.
lives he ruined.
That's disgusting, dude. Jim will fix it.
Hello there, welcome to some more Super Jim'll Fix-Its.
Why is that so creepy? Oh, it's
You wanna dance or
10
cut
minutes
somebody
left.
in two? To join a brass band or a sailing ship crew?
If you want to be queen of the night.
Yeah, it's bad, Jackson.
Or if you want to dine in style.
Or you wanna be Thunderbird too? Prince Charming is your dream come true.
Jim will fix it.
Yep, Jimmy's back. If you've been watching my channel for a while, then you know that Jimmy Savile is sort of a regular on this channel. Even when he isn't the one I'm talking about, he manages to find his way into my videos.
Like
I already
one
talked about
UFC
his
fighter.
uneventful and
Crosby, have a
quite
great
brief
night,
wrestling
my boy. I got
career
you, bro.
years ago in my first Evil Wrestlers video, but now we're talking about his television career, specifically the TV show Jim'll Fix It. Jim'll Fix It aired from 1975 to 1994 on the BBC. The premise was simple. Children wrote letters to Jimmy Savile describing something they'd always wanted to do. Savile would then make it happen on camera. One child might get to eat lunch on a roller coaster. Another might get to play drums with a famous band like Iron Maiden.
Seeing as Uncle Jimmy can't be here today, I'm going to have to do the honours.
I already know where this is going.
Because I come from the nearest point to Leeds, which is where he's supposed to come from. So, pop this down.
Yes,
I'll do this.
down here. Roll on the drums.
No, then. I was by that then. Guys and girls, we fixed it for this young lad here.
Hold
You
it.
see, Iron Maiden. Play Hammersmith-Audion. Very well done there, Dominic. And I wish you all success in your career as a roadie. I was by that then. No, then.
All right, yeah!
Dude, Clint, what are you saying, bro?
At the end of each segment, the child would sit in Savile's big mechanical chair and receive a silver medal engraved with the words, "Jim fixed it for me." At its peak, the show pulled in 20 million viewers and received 20,000 letters a week. It was one of the most beloved programs in British television history. In a way, the show's appeal was its innocence. A child's handwritten letter would appear on screen, read aloud by Savile in the early series, then later as a voiceover by the children themselves. The wish would then play out, either pre-filmed on a location or live in the studio. Some of them were mundane, others were spectacular. An 8-year-old boy named Daniel Middleton got his wish to visit the Dagobah set from The Empire Strikes Back and meet Luke Skywalker and R2-D2. Darth Vader also appeared on the show, as did Chewbacca. Apparently Vader and Chewie were both played by the movie actors David Prowse and Peter Mayhew respectively, though I can't find any actual confirmation for this. In one segment, one of the children translated what Chewie was saying when Savile asked him to, and he said that Chewie could sense an evil presence.
What's he saying?
He senses an evil presence.
He senses an evil presence.
Yes.
Who could that be?
Nobody was meant to take it
you,
seriously,
bro.
but looking back, it lands very differently.
Send him my Discord,
You don't
Crosby.
eat little boys, do you?
What
Do you eat little girls? Only sometimes.
In April 1994, in one of the show's final episodes, A young girl wrote in asking to go sailing. Savile fixed it so that she could spend the day aboard HMS Cottesmore, a Royal Navy ship captained at the time by Prince Andrew, the Duke of York. The Daily Express billed it as the final fix. Andrew and Savile were well acquainted. Years later, Prince Andrew would make headlines all over the world after allegations that he had been involved in sex trafficking and was also in the Epstein files. Andrew, of course, denied all the allegations. The fact that he appeared on Jim Will Fix It alongside Savile has not aged well at all. What makes it worse looking back is that 2 of the show's celebrity guests were themselves convicted sex offenders, and this isn't the first time I've talked about them. Rolf Harris appeared on Jim Will Fix It at least twice, in 1976 and 1993. In the 1976 episode, Savile read out a letter from a young girl called Lindsay who wanted to watch Harris paint. The girl was brought on stage and placed between the 2 men, with Savile stroking her hair and shoulders, then turning to Harris and saying he'd leave her to him. Harris replied she was safe in his capable hands. That footage resurfaced in 2023 in the ITV documentary Rolf Harris, Hiding in Plain Sight, and was widely described as one of the most disturbing clips on the internet. As we all know, Harris was convicted in June 2014 of 12 counts of indecent assault and sentenced to 5 years and 9 months, though he would serve less than 3 years and died in May 2023.
Do you think I may leave her in your charge?
Safely leave her in my capable hands here.
Right.
I'll just roll my sleeves up in case I get
back in a minute. Back in a minute. Off you go.
And of course, Gary Glitter appeared on Jim Will Fix It several times, including in 1991, performing his act on stage surrounded by children, and it's well known that Savile and Glitter were quite close. In a later interview, Savile publicly defended Glitter after his 1999 conviction for downloading 4,000 images of child pornography, saying his friend hadn't done anything wrong because he hadn't tried to show the images in public.
Did he just say... Did he just try to justify downloading CP? Am I hearing that right?
Publicly defended Glitter after his 1999 conviction for downloading 4,000 images of child pornography, saying his friend hadn't done anything wrong because he hadn't tried to show the images in public.
You can't justify that. Bro. You can't justify that, bruh. Bro, that's bad.
All he did was to take his computer into PC World to get it repaired. And they went into the hard drive, saw all these dodgy pictures, and told the police.
Because that's the right thing to do, bro. What?
Person. Oh my goodness, yeah, we'll have them.
Discord's the only place I can watch it on my on-stream cross.
It's not sold it, you're not trying to sell them. You're not trying to show them in public or anything like that.
Bro.
For his own gratification.
Yo, there's no way they're saying this right now, bro. Yeah, not Jackson. It's bad, bro.
Right or wrong.
This is bad, dude.
Is of course, it's up to another person. But they didn't do anything wrong, but they are then demonized. And of course...
Bro, does he know he's being recorded? Like,
what? Like,
what, bro?
Nothing really. They just sat at home watching these dodgy films.
Glitter, of course, would go on to be convicted of child offences in Vietnam in 2006 and sentenced to 3 years.
3? Yeah, something's not right, bro.
Back in the UK, he was convicted again in February 2015 of attempted rape, indecent assault, and having sex with a girl under 13, and sentenced to 16 years.
Bro, just give him life! Bro, y'all see what I'm talking about, bro? They do it, they get put in jail, they get out of jail, and they do it again, bro. Like, just give him life, bro.
He was briefly released, but almost immediately returned to prison because he tried Googling how to get onto the dark web. He's still in prison today and is apparently on his last legs. So that's Jim Will Fix It, a show for children which featured guests who turned out to be child predators. And these men were knighted, honoured, or celebrated by the British establishment while their crimes were ongoing. Savile was one of the most recognisable faces in Britain. He raised roughly £40 million for charity and cultivated close relationships with hospitals, children's homes, and even Broadmoor Psychiatric Facility, where he was given his own set of rooms. He was knighted in 1990 and even received a papal knighthood from John Paul II. Margaret Thatcher had apparently pushed for his knighthood 4 separate times. Senior civil servants resisted, citing worries about what they called unfortunate revelations, though she pushed through it anyway. Savile died on October 29, 2018, 2 days before his 85th birthday. He was never charged with a single crime while alive. Within a year, everything unraveled. The Metropolitan Police and the NSPCC published a joint report called Giving Victims a Voice. It documented 450 people who came forward with complaints about Savile. 388 of them had been children at the time. Police formally recorded 214 criminal offences across 28 police forces, including 34 rapes. The youngest victim was only 5 years old. The oldest was 75. The abuse spanned from 1955 to 2009, and he used Jim Will Fix It directly. A detective on the case stated plainly that Savile used the show as a means of meeting victims. He would sift through the letters that weren't chosen for the program and pick out targets. One victim, Kevin Cook, was 9 years old when his scout troop appeared on the show in 1974. He described being lured backstage at BBC Studios. Savile told him he could earn his own special badge, then assaulted him. When someone interrupted, Savile told the boy not to tell anyone because nobody would believe him. Another victim, Karen Ward, said promised her a TV appearance in exchange for sexual acts. The Dame Janet Smith review, published in 2016, found that Savile had sexually abused 72 people and raped 8 in connection with BBC activities alone. The report said it happened at virtually every BBC premise where he worked. Police have received intelligence about Savile going back to 1963. He was investigated in the 80s, in 2003, in 2007 and 2008. None led to charges. At least 7 separate allegations were never connected to the same person. Right after Savile died, bro. 2 BBC Newsnight journalists started investigating. They interviewed victims on camera, and they had strong evidence. The report was scheduled to air in December 2011, but the editor killed it. Over Christmas, the BBC broadcasted 2 tribute programs to Savile instead. One of the journalists later said the BBC's public statements about why the story was dropped were very misleading. The truth finally broke out in October 2012 when ITV aired an expose called Exposure: The Other Side of Jimmy Savile. Within a week, 13 police forces had received new allegations. The Metropolitan Police launched Operation Newtree, which eventually led to 19 arrests and 7 convictions. The BBC's Director General resigned after just 54 days in the job. An internal review found the BBC was, in their own words, completely incapable of dealing with the scandal. All episodes of Jim Will Fix It were permanently pulled. Savile's headstone was removed, his charities have been shut down, and his cottage in Scarborough has been demolished. Jim Will Fix It's producer, Roger Ordish, revealed something that takes on a different weight now. Savile once told him openly, "I hate children." Something tells me that even though this is only the latest in a series of times where Jimmy has showed up on my channel, it somehow still won't be the last. And that's the end of the video, folks.
Imagine doing all that and like you getting no punishment for that, bro. Like doing that period is disgusting, first of all. But bro, how do you do that and no one catches you, bro? That's the video. If y'all did enjoy, y'all drop a like, sub to the YouTube, follow the Twitch, and join my Discord. Recommend what we should watch next.